Without further ado, yo, you tuning into the Notion Podcast. I'm your host, Dizzy Dspill, and this is the Notion Live. We got a lot to cover. We got a lot to talk about, and I cannot wait to share it. And we're just going to dive right into it. We're not going to waste a whole lot of time, all right? We're not doing that, all right? So let's just get into it. For those that don't know, this right here happens to be a CEO of a major company who is caught cheating at a Coldplay concert. Yes, a Coldplay concert. Let me get the man's name. The man's name is, is it Andy? I forget what his last name is, but he got caught at a Coldplay concert doing the most. So let's see how it went down first, for those that didn't know.
Yeah. Oh, look at these two. All right, come on. You okay? Oh, what?
Bruh.
Either they're having an affair or they're just very shy.
And he didn't make it any better saying that, because that's exactly what was going on.
Oh, speaking of that.
Oh, we can't. We gonna get there. We gonna get there. Okay, so let's talk about this for a minute. The reason why I wanted to cover this is for several things, especially because of conversations we have about relationships, conversations we have about broke men, high value men, divesting, and dating outside the community. And I just couldn't help myself but to cover this. So this is a man that obviously looked like he is from the European or Caucasian descent, CEO, just cheating, you know what I'm saying? Just casually cheating out at a concert in broad daylight on the Jumbotron. And so what it looks like happened is they were enjoying themselves, and they looked like they were some wholesome couple, and they decided to put them on the Jumbotron. And the minute they seen that they were cheating in 4K, they started running behind each other. And I think it's hilarious. I think it's hilarious that they got caught. I feel bad for the wife. Apparently, the wife changed her name on Facebook immediately. She's got to feel very embarrassed. I know they are embarrassed. But the reason why I felt like I wanted to cover this was because there's some truth to the narrative behind really, 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 really rich and successful men. Now, I'm not going to put them all in a group and say that they're all like this, but I just wanted to talk to some of the ladies out there that have this sentiment about being with a rich guy. These are some of the things that you might have to deal with when you want the six-figure or more CEO, tax bracket. This is very common. I've also seen a lot of content over the years that I've always wanted to leave a comment on about dating different type of men. I've heard the sisters talk about dating different type of men that are non-black, but the results can still be the same. Cheating does not have a color. I just want you guys to understand that. It doesn't matter if you're white, doesn't matter if you're Hispanic, it doesn't matter if you're black. Cheating doesn't have a color. And then on top of that, when you're dealing with somebody that's on that level, like a CEO or a chairman or an owner, this happens a lot. This happens a whole lot. So just, for the women though, for the women, how do you feel about this? Because this has been a conversation and a topic for years. I feel like pre-pandemic and now, it's always been a conversation that a man needs to make six figures. He needs to do this. He needs to do that. He needs to be a provider. This is what a provider can look like. I'm not saying this is what all providers look like, but this is what a provider can look like. This is what a person with six figures can look like. And so I just found it interesting, and I found it kind of funny that they were trying to hide. I don't know where you're gonna hide. Once you make the big screen, baby, you are on set. It's over. You know what I'm saying? It's over. You are on set. You are on full display. Like I said, the only person I probably feel bad for in this situation is the wife, because she was probably at home holding the fort down. I don't know if they got kids or whatever the case it is. And now the whole world knows that your significant other is in love with someone else and is at a Coldplay concert. I mean, that still shot. Look at the still shot. That still shot right there says everything. You see the stress, you see the anxiety, you see all of it. So I don't know, just something to think about when y'all when y'all out here with these dating standards and saying a person needs to have money and this, that, and the other. This is sometimes what it could look like. Okay, this is sometimes what it could look like. Trying to chase somebody with money and fame. And I'm not even saying that that's what his wife did, but there's pros and cons to everything. Kevin Samuels once said that men don't cheat, they exercise their options. I didn't necessarily agree with that, but I understand that, or not men, high value men. So, this is very common with a lot of men. Y'all need to look for character. My message to women that have a lot to say about this situation, this is what could happen if you are not dating character and you're dating resources. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say about it. So, hey, man, whatever happens, happens to them. Let's move on to the topics. This is something I definitely wanted to cover.
Yeah. Oh, look at these two.
Well,
All right.
yeah, let's get them up out of there. Coldplay didn't have to say that they was cheaters either.
Speaking of man,
So let's check out this conversation that Shaq was having about RG3. We covered RG3 on the Notion podcast as far as in his disdain for black women and his attack on Angel Reese. Let's get into it.
Speaking of man, RG3, tweet another monkey post about my girl Angel Reese. I'm punching your fucking face. Okay?
Ooh.
It's enough. Like, I don't usually do stuff like this, but just stop it, bro. You got your job, you got your podcast, leave my Angel Reese alone. I'm the one calling her and telling her not to respond. Fucking stop it. That's the last time. Okay? Thank you. It's not...
I don't know. What y'all think about that? What y'all think about Shaq going in on RG3 and threatening to punch RG3 over Angel Reese comments? Do you think that... Is that an example... for the sisters, is that an example of what it looks like to protect black women? Is that what that looks like? Let me know in the chat. Get active. Get talking in the chat. I see you, bro. But yeah, get talking in the chat about that. Was that warranted? Is that something that's necessary? I'll give my opinion about it, but I'd rather you guys,
Real hate. If you look around what's going on in this real country, that's hate. This is sports. I'm not supposed to like you. It's a shame that all the stuff you did in your life, you're going to be remembered for your podcast.
That was also a shot at RG3. So, okay, here's my thing. This is how I see it with RG3 and in the Shaquille O'Neal situation. Me personally, I'm not a fan of RG3. I liked him when he was when he was an active football player. I felt bad that his career got cut short because of injuries and bad coaching as far as in letting him play injured. But here are the facts about RG3. For you guys that don't know, if you don't watch sports or whatever, RG3 is Robert Griffin III, okay? He was part of the same draft class as Andrew Luck. It was a pretty stacked draft class. I think he went number 2. Andrew Luck went number 1. Of course, I would know that. I'm a Colts fan. And, he had a short career because of injuries. I think he actually got injured like his first, maybe second season, like really bad. And so what ended up happening was he left sports, decided to get into the game of, I want to say the game, but he decided to get into the sports commentary part of, NFL. And then he started obviously diverging into just sports in general. And he's had this thing for Angel Reese. And he describes it as hate, and it's one of those things that kind of bother me when there's a conversation at hand about black women, because I am very critical of black women with a lot of decisions that they make and a lot of things that they say and how they act. I am. But I'm critical because I care. So there's a difference between critique. There's a difference between hate. There's a difference between all of these different words that we like to use in the media, on social media, and things of that nature. What my issue is with RG3 is some of the remarks he makes. Obviously, you see in the clip, Shaq is upset. Shaq is really close to Angel Reese, but he's upset because RG3 will post derogatory things like, monkey post, or, that, she's a hateful person, putting a lot of different jackets on this young sister. And I agree with Shaq's sentiment. We covered this on the Notion podcast some episodes ago. And what makes it worse about RG3 and the way he's been attacking Angel Reese is, first of all, he's a black man vilifying a young black woman. Now, Shaq looks at her as a child because of age difference. I mean, he's even older than RG3. But the thing is that the attack on her coming from her own, I mean, yeah, that's got to feel a little discouraging, and it's got to be frustrating. But what makes it worse with RG3 doing this is, he has a preference. He definitely is crazy about white women. That's for sure. He loves some white women. He was married to one that didn't work out, decided to try it again with another one. And so I think the controversy comes in with him making negative and derogatory remarks against a young black successful athlete like Angel Reese, but he also doesn't date black women. So Ryan Clark has brought that up on their platform, but then at the same time, now Shaq's coming in, he's saying his piece. We've also seen other content creators talk about Angel Reese as far as in their opinion and their sentiment and stuff like that. But what ended up happening was Shaq got frustrated. Now, people may ask, well, why is Shaq getting involved? Why is he so upset? What's the connection? For those that don't follow, Shaq and Angel Reese obviously share sentiment because they both went to LSU. And so he's very, supportive of LSU. He's there a lot at the game, especially the basketball game. So when she was there, he was supporting her and things of that nature. And so they've built a rapport. He's kind of like an older brother, or maybe kind of like a uncle or father figure to Angel Reese. So, yeah, he's going to be protective, and I don't have anything wrong with that. I do think it's weird sometimes the way some of the brothers do attack the successful female athletes. I do think it's weird that Angel Reese is more in the news for negativity than I think, what's her name, Aja Wilson, who's actually the best player in the WNBA, who's also a black woman. And I think that's weird, too. I think sometimes when these content creators and when these black commenters that are black men, when they get online and they start talking about the sisters, it's like, okay, fine. If you want to talk about the negative that you see that's, viral, and that's the topic of the week because all platforms are talking about it, fine. But you also can also take the responsibility to talk about some of the positive. Because you hear more, when you hear anything about the WNBA, you're hearing about Caitlin Clark and you're hearing about Angel Reese because of the rivalry that they had in college. But the problem is neither one of them is the best player in the WNBA. Aja Wilson is. And nobody is talking about her. And it's crazy because if we were talking about the NBA, it would be LeBron James, it would be OKC. If you're talking about the NFL, it would be the reigning champs, the Philadelphia Eagles, or it would be Jalen Hurts. So it's weird that when it does come to women's sports, it's only negative commentary and controversial commentary, but when it comes to male sports, it's a little bit different. It's who's the best, who's stacking up, who's getting better, who won't be back the next season, and I think that's trash. And this is coming from somebody that it can be very critical of the sisters. All right, very critical. So I don't really knock Shaq on that. I do knock RG3. I said it before in other past content. I'm not a fan of RG3. I think that his movements are pretty trash as far as in the way he goes after black women, specifically Angel Reese. The other thing I think is weird too is he has like a fetish for, the fact that he's married to a white woman. He does have the fetish for always making like racial jokes. So he loves his milk. He loves it. He refers to his woman as milk. I just think it's weird. Listen, I am not against anybody dating outside their race, whatever. I may have my opinions. I may have my sentiment. I don't care. But when you go out of your way to like make little things like that public, like, oh, that's your milk or your snow and whatever the case it is, and then you pedestalize your woman kind of like on the sneak side, but then at the same time you're shading Angel Reese. At the end of the day, she's a kid to us. I think I might be around RG3's age or a little bit older. she's a kid to us, bro. Like, what are you getting out of that? That's lame. And you know what? That's another thing. I feel like guys that are always dragging specific women or a specific woman week after week on a public platform, I really do think that they're upset because that woman or those women probably reminded them of women that rejected them in high school or college or some, I don't know, elementary school. It seems that way. Because I don't understand why you would have that kind of energy. I know when I cover content regarding women or certain types of women, I'm talking about the sentiments that they're sharing, the controversial conversations that they're having, the disrespect that may come out. Oh yeah, I'll definitely give my energy on that. But I don't talk about women or especially the sisters in a way like I don't care about them. I can say we have plenty of content where we're talking about the great things about black women, why we need them, and we do need them, and you're not going to hear us running around talking about we don't need them like a lot of them like to do about black men. But I still support and I still will protect black women. But if I'm obligated to support and protect them, I also have a responsibility and have a right to critique them. They're from my community. I don't really care about talking about women from other communities. But I'm not going to call RG3 a sellout. I'm going to just say he's Samboing it. He's definitely coming off like a Sambo. And I think it's weird. I think he's a weirdo when it comes to talking about the sisters. And I applaud Ryan Clark. I applaud Shaquille O'Neal for calling bruh out. Because here's my thing. If you're not crazy about Angel Reese, if you're not crazy about sisters, just don't speak on them. They're not speaking on you. That's the crazy part. Half of black women probably don't even know who RG3 is. So the fact that he has all of this energy for Angel Reese and he has all this secret dislike for sisters, even though he comes from a black household, a black mother, a black father, married, it's weird. You know, you don't have to get your stripes by you know hating on black people, man. You really don't, especially that you black, man. You know, did they talk about you, bro? Did they make you feel bad? You know, I would love to know the truth on why RG3 feels the way he feels about Angel Reese. I would love to know how he really feels about the sisters, besides us trying to decode it and figure it out. I would be very interested in that. But you know what? That's the climate today. The climate today is hate towards a certain group, men towards women, black versus white, whatever subject works out, you know what I'm saying, then people will have that conversation. So shout out to Shaq, shout out to Ryan Clark for definitely showing that that stance. I think they're showing a great display of what it looks like to protect black women. And we gonna move along. I think there's more context to this situation too. So let's see.
You're gonna be remembered for your podcast. That should tell you you're not that fucking great. I don't want to be remembered for Shaq's Bit podcast. I do not. Like, leave those girls alone. You already spoke on it. Let it go. So what? He hates her. So fucking what? I hate you now for messing with her. Now what? Say something about me. But she's not gonna respond because I'm the one calling and be like, baby, keep it classy. Because she's not soft by any means. You're from the streets. But I'm like, you're beautiful. Don't indulge with these fools. Because he's a fool. You don't even have G14 classification.
That's who's for those that are in the chat. That's RG3, man. That's who. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know what it is about his personality. Maybe it's because he brings some controversy towards talking about his own, but there's definitely a civil war going on in our community regarding certain black folks that do get an opportunity to be on national television to talk in a way that is comfortable for every other race to feel like he's more aligned with their ideologies and their views about black folks. And we call that sellout, we call it Sambo, and we call people like that Sambos. We have all of these different names for people that operate like that. But this is who was talking about Angel Reese for the ladies that don't know who RG3 is. Like I said, I applaud Shaq and Ryan Clark. Dude look like a Batman villain. What is it? What is it with these athletes, specifically NFL players? If you look at everybody else that does an interview or that's doing sports broadcasting, they just keep it simple with suits and, whatever. But us, brothers, y'all got all of this money, and some of y'all probably came from poverty, right? And either you got a stylist that you trying to help build a portfolio, or you just have this urge to dress like a Batman villain. I don't understand. I'm a diehard Batman fan, and I feel like the majority of these brothers, they get some money, and it's like they go straight to Arkham Asylum to get fashion tips from the Joker. Why do y'all dress like Batman villains, like the Riddler and the Joker and Harvey Dent? I'll never understand that. But like I said, I stand with Shaq and Ryan Clark on checking RG3 about the way he's talking about the sisters, specifically Angel Reese. The other thing that I wanted to point out before I close out this conversation about RG3 is basketball and football. These sports are competitive. So they're not supposed, like Shaq was saying earlier, you're not supposed to like each other on the field or on the court. You're not friends. I'm here to beat you. I'm here to eliminate you from a chance at the championship to increase my chances of winning the championship. So the fact that he waits until Angel Reese comes in and says that, she's hateful and stuff like that. And here's the truth. I've seen interviews with Angel Reese saying that her and Caitlin Clark actually have respect for each other. It's the fans. It's the fans that try to fuel the hate and make it seem like they hate each other. And I'm going to keep it G with you. I'm sorry we're on live, but I'm going to keep it G with you. A lot of people that share the same sentiment as RG3 are a lot of middle-aged white men. There's a lot of middle-aged white men that cannot stand Angel Reese, and they have a lot of love for Caitlin Clark, which I think is weird because they're kids to us. So for middle-aged white men to have this disregard and this disdain for a younger black woman who's playing in the WNBA, who is putting asses in seats just like Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese are putting asses in seats and getting the WNBA more viewership for sure. But y'all feel this hate like they hate each other. They have respect for each other. There's no hate. It's more the fans. Well, we're going to move along a little bit.
That. I would respect it more if Lisa Leslie said it.
Okay.
Like, that's y'all category. Stay out of them people's category. Okay, you're sports, whatever you do, you talk about sports, but, bro, you don't need to be going deep. Y'all can go deep. Y'all are females. Y'all understand what that's like. If he hates her, so what?
I respect that.
Like, I don't mind you doing your job, saying anyone, but don't pick on that little girl. Because guess what? I'm her protector. Now pick on me. You pick on me, I'm going to punch you in your fucking face.
What?
Shout out to Shaq, man. Shout out to Shaq on that. Anyways, we're going to get into it more. I wanted to talk about this Joy Taylor situation, but I kind of wanted to... I got to pull your card, Anton Daniels. All right? I got mixed emotions about you, Anton Daniels. You're doing your thing. You do numbers. You do have a lot of thought-provoking conversations. Sometimes I do feel like your crew kind of sides with you and kind of sticks with what you say because you the Dundada of your platform. But I'm gonna call you out a little bit because you're covering Angel. I was just covering Angel Reese story, but the Joy Taylor situation. So for you guys that don't know, Joy Taylor is someone that's been in sports, basically does sports commentary similar to RG3, and she has lost her job because of show cancellations. The producer that was producing the show that she was on and multiple other shows was let go. Joy Taylor was let go. What's the other? Emmanuel, what is his name? Emmanuel Ocho was let go, who was also working with Joy Taylor. But what's interesting about Joy Taylor, Emmanuel Ocho, and Skip Bayless and a few other people, they were named earlier this year from a whistleblower's testimony about some sexual misconduct that was going on, and claiming that was Joy Taylor's rise to success in the sports world, because allegedly she was sleeping with all of these people. I think that's unfortunate. Here it is. We're having a conversation about another sister. We did cover that on the Notion podcast, but now as stories develop, it looks like there might be some facts coming out about some of these allegations, because I think it's I wouldn't say highly, I just think it's very interesting that the people involved in these allegations, their shows were canceled. LaShawn McCoy was also on one of these shows. I don't think he was named as far as in somebody that was participating, but yeah. And you're going to see some of this information with this Anton Daniels reaction, and I'm reacting to Anton Daniels because I don't know, I got to call you out, Anton. We're going to get into it, though.
In your fucking face.
What's going on is Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me. Let's have a conversation really quickly, because Fox Sports 1, ever since Shannon Sharpe left, has just been in complete shambles.
That is true. Ever since Shannon Sharpe's allegations as far as his civil suit, which is now being settled. For those that don't know, just an update, Shannon Sharpe's civil suit with the young white woman he was messing with, they came to a settlement. Tony Busby, who's everywhere when it comes to a black man getting sued for something, made an announcement that they are, they've came to a settlement. So Anton is right about that. Ever since that happened, a lot of the energy has just shifted over at ESPN. We don't know if he'll get his role back or what, but let's listen to Anton.
100% shambles. And I don't know if they need to go and try to give him the bag again. Skip Bayless, obviously he was out a long time ago. And now several different shows have been removed. And it seems like the only person that has been able to survive is Colin Cowherd. Now, I've been looking at Joy Taylor. Let me bring myself up here. I've been looking at Joy Taylor go on a podcast run. I mean,
this is true. She's been on a lot of podcasts. She was on the After Dark podcast. I always get the name wrong, so please forgive me. The Paul Pierce podcast that he has with his co-host. She was on there. That's where she was saying some infamous things about religious men, give her or a red flag to her, men that put religion, as the forefront of their lifestyle and their purpose. That was a red flag to her. She said that on that same podcast. That's also the same podcast that Dr. Cheyenne Bryant has been trending on lately because of her contradictions. So, yeah, she has been going on a podcast run. It's actually the smart thing to do when you're already in media, to start figuring out different routes for permissionless media. That's how Shannon Sharpe is paying bills right now. Imagine if he was only a sports commentator when those allegations popped out. It would be very difficult to try to find a way to build a platform with the reputation. He already has the platform, reputation being challenged, but it's not taking any money out of his pocket as far as permissionless media. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to listen to Anton.
She was on Joe Budden's podcast. I think she was on Truth After Dark with
After Dark. That's what
Paul
it is.
Pierce. Maybe not. Maybe that was Dr. Bryant. I don't remember. But she has been appearing on several different shows. And more importantly, she's been trying to take the approach of trying to restart and kickstart her 2 personal channel. Now, how do I know this? Because I've been monitoring everything. And that's what happens when you...
Anton, why are you monitoring people, man? So here's my thing about Anton. I agree with a lot of his sentiments. I agree with a whole lot more than I can say at times. But one of the things that I notice about Anton Daniels when he's covering certain topics, the majority of them are black. So that's cool. I mean, if you want to police black people's behavior as far as in what they're doing, negative, or the type of things that they're perpetuating, I respect that. I feel the same way. I don't like, gangster culture. I don't like the crazy YN behavior. I don't like seeing us hold each other back. I just notice that it's only us. You kind of give this perception or this image as if we're the only ones doing certain things, which can give a negative perception to people on the outside that put that certain stereotypes on us. So I get you having the assumption that she's going on this run and doing this and doing that. But unless you really had a personal conversation with her, it's just an assumption. Now, she may prove you right later, but it's still just an assumption right now. I mean, everybody has a platform. Everybody has a microphone and podcast equipment. So we can't say that just because somebody starts at a point that they do start at, that they're only doing it because of something else. That could have been something in the works. That could have been a 2-year plan of hers before we found out who she was. But let's keep going.
Popular culture, you're aware and you're not hearing it, you're watching it happen and play out in real time. Now, let's also harken back before we jump into the article. Let's also harken back to the lawsuit that was filed by a person that used to work for Fox Sports, and they filed it against Skip Bayless. They also mentioned Joy Taylor in the lawsuit, and they mentioned a person that was a producer that had put on all 3 shows that are now being removed from Fox Sports, right? So now what you see is a shakeup that is happening at Fox Sports. Now, I don't know what they're.
So this is something that I was referencing before I started playing the video again. I do think it's a little interesting that the people that's involved with this alleged scandal that she's been named in, all those shows that those people were affiliated with are getting canceled. That doesn't look good for any of their brands, including Joy Taylor. So there can be some truth to that. Me personally, I'm not a Joy Taylor fan. She said things in the past where I just didn't agree with. I just don't. Besides her sports takes and actually listening to what she has to say about football or maybe basketball, I could care less about her takes on dating and relationships and stuff like that, because I think she's way off. So I think it is important that she sticks to just talking sports. Some people don't need to talk politics and things of that nature and all of that. So I just, that's just how I see it, But we're gonna keep right on going, man. We're gonna keep right on going.
Going to replace all of these shows, which includes Speak. Speak is a show that Joy Taylor was a co-host on.
Yep.
And all of these things are being removed. And I am not, before we get into this article, let me also say that I am not a person that is going to kick somebody when they're down. What I am.
Remember that. For those of you that are watching, write something in the timestamp a chat real quick. Remember what he said. He said, I'm not the type of person to kick someone when they're down. Okay, fine. And, you can have an enemy. You can have somebody you don't get along with, and then when something dramatic happens to them, you don't want to kick them while they're down. That's not a part of your upbringing or your character. But just remember that.
What I'm going to do is highlight the things that I don't agree with when you're up or when you're going through it, and just report the news. So I'm going to give my perspective afterwards, but let me read the article for you guys in order to bring you up to date on what's going on. Fox Sports 1, Joy Taylor is reportedly out after the shakeup. Now, why are we saying that Joy Taylor is out after the shakeup? Like, how come they're not highlighting anybody else? Because Joy Taylor was the one that is the most vocal, the most visible. She is a person that seemed to be the most arrogant. She was the most nonchalant when it comes to her response and the things that she was saying online. But again, we'll get to that in a minute, because I think that there's a lot of guys and a lot of people that are probably celebrating Joy Taylor getting fired, but I am not going to be one of them again, because I don't advocate for anybody to lose their bag, go to jail, or die. All right, those are my rules.
That's what's up. That you're saying that, Anton. But sometimes we have to remember that when we have a large platform, when you have a large platform like yours, and you speak anything that can be perceived as negative or have a negative assumption about somebody that has a pretty big name, you could be taking the bag from them, because there's people that follow you that's going to follow suit with you and your sentiments, even if you're wrong or you just have an assumption. That's why people get sued for defamation. That's why people have to say allegedly a lot of times when they're having conversations. So I think it's cool that you're saying you don't want to kick somebody when they're down, and you don't want to celebrate when somebody's losing a bag or going to jail or, losing their life. But at the same time, bro, when you're speaking with so much conviction about somebody that is just your opinion, and you have the kind of platform you have, that can do damage to a person's name, especially when we have a minority group of black people that support different channels and different things. We still have a responsibility. When you have a huge platform and people are following your content, you have to remember that when you speak about someone, even if it's in the positive, that's why you won't shout nobody out. Not saying you personally, but when you have a big platform, you don't just shout anybody out, or you don't just shout a brand out because your name carries enough weight to bring traffic to them, and you don't want to do that for free. And it's interesting because now that I'm thinking about it, what we do as content creators and people that have podcasts and live streams, a lot of us will have negative conversations about people that could be damaging to their brand, but nobody will shout anybody out when it can help bring up the numbers for their brand, their channel, their social media handle. So I'm just saying, you have, the bigger your platform is, the more responsibility you do have, because you can do damage. I know people like to say the unalive threats that people get when social media turns on them or when the news turns on them, but you rarely hear about people blowing up because their name was mentioned for a positive thing. So I hear you, but it could be a little challenging. And you guys are going to see where I'm going with this, because, you know, he's saying he don't want to kick nobody when they're down, and he don't want to just report on news and be selective. But there's a reason why I'm calling this out, Anton.
And I make sure that I keep family off limits.
Respectful.
But let's
Yes,
deep dive
respectful.
into it. It said it was a huge sports media news that dropped on Monday. Fox Sports 1 canceled 3 of its shows that take up around 6 hours of its daily programming: Speak, Breakfast Ball, and The Facility. Shows like First Things First and The Herd stayed. All right. So that is the biggest thing. I am just name recognition. Most people could probably tell you that they have heard of First Things First and they've heard of The Herd, which is Colin Cowherd. All right. Speak, you probably know that just from it being in the news of getting bad media press about what was happening behind the scenes and all of that.
So yeah, basically he's going down the line, breaking down what happened and things of that nature as far as in the show and stuff like that. I'm gonna move a little bit forward because he got to talking about some other stuff. So let's get that covered and see what's up with that.
That's the list we've put together, noting that these are reports we've seen. Some are from the names themselves, and others are from reporters. Here's a breakdown of what and who we've seen out so far. Joy Taylor is out.
Yep.
The Athletic report, she's officially out. Her name surfaced in lawsuits involving the network.
Right.
So it's been likely a tumultuous time for her in the past year. Now, when you become a liability to a network, you'd have to really be putting out and putting on.
I agree, and he would disagree because I've seen enough of his content. I agree that when you are a liability because of accusations, which is unfortunate, because a lot of times when accusations happen to a lot of black entertainers or black people that are in front of the camera, they have to step down or they're suspended. And that doesn't happen for everyone. It happens for a lot of people, for the best of the network, but it doesn't happen with everyone. And take Shannon Sharpe. Shannon Sharpe had to step down after he was about to make that $50 million, right? And they came to a settlement. Settlements don't always mean that the person settling is guilty. Sometimes they don't want to waste the time. They don't want to pay the legal fees. They don't want to go through the scrutiny and the drama because it's been prolonged. Settlements do not always mean that people are guilty. Sometimes it's cheaper to settle. I'll give you an example. If somebody wants to sue you for $20 million, right, and you know that you can fight it, and you settle for $5 million, well, you just probably saved money, because the longer that trial could have been, the more you're spending more than $5 million for legal fees and canceling your shows or putting things on pause and not having certain financial opportunities until the case is closed. So we don't ever talk about the allegations that happen with people where they're settled or charges are dropped. You know what I'm saying? So when you look at somebody like Shannon Sharpe, they settled. To be honest, I don't think that he did anything wrong. I think the only thing that Shannon Sharpe was guilty of when he was going through what he was going through was being a little creepy, dating and dealing with a woman that you're like 30 years older than. So he's guilty of being nasty. He's guilty of kind of being nasty like Diddy. But as far as allegations, a lot of times we like to perpetuate what alleged happened, and then when charges are dropped or people are innocent, the dust settles and everybody runs off. Nobody goes back and clears that up. So the same thing with Joy Taylor and all of these different athletes. I just think because of the news surrounding the names like her and the other people that Anton is naming, I think what the problem is that, A, your name is in the news for a negative period. Even if you're not guilty and you're innocent of this stuff, we got to shut you down, and we just got to figure out another route, or you got to figure out another route. So I just wanted to say that little piece, but let's see what he got to say.
It's not enough for, as my dog Jason Whitlock's, for you to say, to have.
Okay, here's my thing. For you guys that watch sports, ESPN and stuff like that, y'all know who Jason Whitlock is. Jason Whitlock to me is a weirdo. So for him to say that that's his dog, here's my true opinion about the way Anton Daniels moves. Very successful, influential to the people on his platform and his community. But I notice he likes a lot of people that emulate anti-black rhetorics that are black. He's admitted it himself that he's kind of a black sheep of like his family as far as in his views. Brother, check this out. I definitely agree with a lot of your sentiment about how we carry ourselves, some of the stuff that we get involved with, some of the stuff that the brothers do, some of the stuff that the sisters do. But the reason why it starts looking like our people are samboing it, or why people may accuse you of that are not a part of your community, it's because the only thing being perpetuated is the negative. The only thing that's having that is talked about is negative. There's not a lot of positive. You know, you don't like the Obamas. You don't like Barack Obama. You're not a fan of D.L. Hughley. If anybody is pretty much supportive of Democrats because you're a Republican, you don't really rock with them. And then on top of the news that's going on with black people, you cover it, you highlight it. You get a fresh highlighter and you highlight everything. But I never hear any positive content about what's going on in the black circuit or the black community. And so that's what my thing is. The reason why I decided to go on that tangent is because Jason Whitlock is like worse. So you calling that your boy, but he's worse. Even when he was referring to Joy Taylor, he was referring to her breasts and her peanut butter skin or whatever the case. Just some weirdo stuff. Like if that was my sister or that was my woman, it would be a problem. Me and Jason Whitlock, he would have to run my fade if I ran into him. Call it ghetto, call it barbaric, whatever the case is. But I do understand the sisters sometimes when they say the way that they're disrespected and sexualized. And it makes it worse when it's one of us confirming it with the way we talk about them. Because you know what's crazy? Check this out. You know what would be gangster to me when some of y'all brothers do this about some of the sisters that are on TV and that say the things that they say that Jason Whitlock used to say about Joy Taylor. By the way, I'm not a Joy Taylor fan. I don't really like, her takes on a lot of stuff and how, some of the things she says. But y'all don't do that to white women. Anton, y'all don't talk about white women that talk crazy. And don't sit up here and say that they don't talk crazy, because any woman can talk crazy. But all of the white women that are in sports, y'all have never said anything negative, especially Jason Whitlock. Y'all pump the brakes on that. You guys won't even touch it because you know what'll happen. You know you'll get shut down. And I'm just using that as an example. I'm not saying that you need to. But my thing is, if you really are going to be balanced and you really believe in what you're saying morally or from a professional level, talk about some of these white women when they get in trouble. Talk about the white woman that was cheating with the CEO. That's a woman. She did something wrong. And that's what I think is interesting. We'll drag Joy Taylor, and I'm not a fan of Joy Taylor. I don't like Joy Taylor. You'll drag Joy Taylor for allegations, but y'all didn't say nothing about that white lady cheating with that CEO. That was caught in 4K at a Coldplay concert. That's when black women are talking about the way black men talk about them and don't protect them. That's an example of what they're talking about. I can't even argue with the sisters on that. That's exactly what they're talking about. Well, I digress. I don't like Jason Whitlock. So he brought that up. That was a trigger.
big old cans and all of this stuff. You have to be an exceptional talent in order for you to survive once they start getting liability issues with you, because the positives have to outweigh.
It don't matter how talented you are. I don't agree with that either, Anton. The late great Kobe Bryant got accused of something, and the only thing he was guilty of is infidelity when he came out and he admitted that himself in a press conference, and that smeared his brand. It took him almost a decade to kind of not even get back to where he was, but just get back on a marketable level. He lost his Sprite deals, and all of that stuff. Y'all remember what happened to Kobe? Kobe is considered baby Jordan. He's considered Jordan's 1B, with Jordan being 1A. So no, it doesn't matter how talented you are. You get them allegations and you got that black skin, it's a hard time recovering. It doesn't matter what athlete. I can name any athlete that's had something controversial and how it damaged their brand. It's damaged their brand. Muhammad Ali sticking up for civil rights was damaging to his brand, even though he was doing the right thing. So no, I don't think it has anything to do with your talent being exceptional. I think you can survive, but I don't think you'll ever be anywhere close to where you were once allegations are being set against you and you're black. I know you don't like hearing that because, that's a victim mentality, is so you say it, but those are the facts. It is what it is. It is what it is, man.
The negatives, right? The money that you're bringing in has to outweigh the cons that come along with keeping you. But if you are just average or below average or regular or anything like
It's
that,
over.
then, dealing with these lawsuits, which I'm pretty sure that Fox Sports 1, if I had to guess, would probably try to settle out of court,
Yeah.
so that they don't have to risk the possibility of going to court. Then you got to go through depositions, and you have to go through a discovery process where they reveal text messages and all of that. Don't nobody want to deal with that.
He's right with that. I agree with Anton on that. That's one of the things that sucks when we do get allegations and we are successful, is they don't even want to deal with the paperwork and all of that stuff. And at that point, I don't think it's a black or white thing. I think that networks in general, when they realize how much money they're going to lose, they're going to have to make certain decisions like that. So that's fair. That's fair.
Have that type of process. So when these lawsuits came out, the producer that was also accused in a lawsuit, Skip Bayless, has already been removed. The producer that was in a lawsuit.
And then to be fair, Skip Bayless got removed, but he was on his way out because it was over once Shannon Sharp left. That show was never the same. They tried to bring on, I think it was Richard Sherman and Keyshawn Johnson, and they wouldn't even let Skip talk. So I think Skip really understood his damage that he created when he disrespected Shannon Sharp the way he did. So it's true. He's out of there, but he was already on his way out. I mean, his show was going to be canceled, I think, regardless.
All of these shows is under his covering, and then Joy Taylor, who's also received a lot of negative publicity as a result of being a part of this lawsuit. You had to know that it was only a matter of time. And that's one of the reasons why she ain't been on this podcast run or has been so quiet about the situation. Emmanuel Ocho, who was also named.
Yeah, he was named as well. We talked about that. Apparently allegedly him and Joy Taylor had a thing and they was messing around. I don't know. I mean, it did sound weird how protective he was and all of this stuff. But I don't know these people personally, just like Anton don't. But whatever. Let me move forward, because let me show you what it is that I really, really wanted to call out. I don't want to drag this on and things like that. But let me get to the end of this. Let me see.
That they care about is ratings, right? They care about their ability to compete in the marketplace.
Yeah, we already know that, Anton. We know that. Everybody does. Even you and your team, y'all care about that. Now, he said that he didn't want to kick somebody while they're down. I want to play this clip that he posted on, I believe it was IG, maybe TikTok. And when the allegations first came out about Joy Taylor, he had something to say. Now, he said he didn't want to kick somebody while they're down. I respect that. That's admirable. It's respectful. But I would think that when allegations come out about a person and they have to prove themselves innocent, whatever you say about that person when they're dealing with that can be considered kicking them while they're down too. So let's see.
Peace.
These allegations are true, then Joy Taylor is a piece of shit. Forget Skip Bayless.
If these allegations are true, then Joy Taylor is a piece of shit. Your words, not mine. Let's go.
Spending $1.5 million for box. We don't even believe that. But this Joy Taylor situation where she slept her way to the top, executive vice president, and the man that was on the show, and it ain't even no telling who else she was busting down, because the woman, that's all that she says that she knows. But
now, what I find interesting about this, right, is that let's just say that that's what Joy Taylor did. Let's say that we have proof that she did that. You're going to drag the person that walked through the gate because of how they got through the gate instead of attacking the gatekeeper. Do you think the problem are the Joy Taylors that are taking advantage of sleeping their way up to the top, if that's true? Or do you think it's the people that have the power to pick and choose who they sleep with and move up to the top? Who's the problem? Now, we could say both are the problem, but this is Anton's sentiments and thoughts about Joy Taylor back when the allegations came out first.
it proves what men's been saying for a long time, is that it's never going to be equal. It's not equal on women's side. It's not equal on men's side. If Joy Taylor is able to...
I agree with that. It isn't equal. We do live in a society where there are double standards, okay? And I think for the most part, we just learn to accept them. We may not agree with them, and there may be some that we do agree with, whether you're a man or whether you're a woman. But we understand that there are double standards for men, there are double standards for women, depending on the conversation. But he's saying that things aren't equal, and that's just what we got to accept. But let's see some more of what Anton had to say back in, I think, January.
her way to the top and be able to get on both shows, not because of her talent, not because of her merit, but because of her pretty privilege and her willingness.
Okay, let's break this down. He said that, you know, if it is true about the allegations, and this is what he said in January, this is what I wanted to talk about. Now, he said that if you didn't get on because of your talent, right? If you didn't get on because of your talent and because of pretty privilege, we're talking sports broadcasting. Shannon Sharpe had a personality, not a talent. You don't really develop a talent for sports broadcasting unless you just have this crazy memory with stats and different play-by-plays and different sports. You don't really have to create a talent unless you're the comedic relief of a show or something and you've been practicing your jokes and your delivery, and there's not really an art form, just like streamers. You know what I'm saying? We're going to talk about the streamer stuff before we get out of here. But just like a streamer, you just develop experience and skills. It's not really a talent there when it comes to doing what he does, when it comes to doing what I do. You don't have a talent. The person that can make 100 threes back to back, that's even a skill that's developed, but that can also be a talent just because of how they go about making those 100 threes back to back. So pretty privilege, that's part of a double standard, but if you're able to capitalize off of it and people love you for it and you're consistent, it's an advantage.
If true, allegedly to open up her legs to men, and in order to be able to get her position, then y'all should be ashamed for even trying to be equal to men in that way, because that's something that we'll never be able to do. You want our privilege, you want us to be able to share our resources, you want equal work for equal pay. Well, what kind of equal work does she put in order to be able to get her positions? Hey, somebody hold me accountable and tell me, how does that make sense? More importantly,
yo, the flex
the
is
fact that
crazy.
she was willing to file a lawsuit in order to preserve her position and say that he forced herself on her, that's crazy. And y'all won't hold her accountable. It's always going to be guys that have to have the conversation and say, hey, no, that's not true. But y'all won't even hold her accountable. I want to hear what women got to say on this one.
Yeah.
Yo, okay, so check this out. This is my take on this. All right. So now, as you see, right? As you see, totally different attitude. Totally different attitude. Totally different attitude from the first video. You don't want to kick somebody when they're down and all of this drama. Totally different attitude, right? My thing is that I call BS. I call bullshit. Because you was dragging this lady. And I think you were dragging her because you probably shared the same sentiments that I have about her style and how she broadcasts. I really don't get bothered too much on women that take advantage of how they move up to the top and resources that they have and stuff like that. Simply because, what's done in the dark comes to the light a lot of times. But I don't agree with the idea that, she's a piece of shit if she screwed her way to the top or whatever the case it is. Because a lot of people do nepotism. A lot of people only help out their homies and all of this other stuff. And what, are they pieces of shit? Is it unfair? Yes, it's unfair. But that's what you said almost 7 months ago, Anton. That's what you were talking about. And then now it's like, well, I don't want to kick somebody when they're down. Like I said, when somebody has allegations against them that might not be true, or even if it is true, they're still getting public humiliation. That's kicking somebody when they're down. It just is. So here's my thing. I don't know what's going to happen with Joy Taylor. I don't think Anton knows what's going to happen with Joy Taylor either. But what I do understand is that we have this thing in society where we move the goalpost depending on who it is, what it is that they do, what they're aligned with versus what we are aligned with. And I think that if we're going to have a honest conversation, then we have to call out things that are similar to the things we're criticizing. For example, Anton, you are very critical of the sisters. So am I, because they are from our community. They are a representation of themselves and us and, our children, things of that nature. They are very, very critical to our community. So I understand when you hold sisters and when you hold some of the brothers accountable. But like I said, I don't understand in our community how we have this thing where we want to perpetuate that we are this and that, and we do it in a way where we act like we're the only ones. That's what bothers me. We act like we're the only ones that do it. And I'm not a fan of that. So I just think that, brother, when you speak on what the sisters are doing, when you speak on what the brothers are doing, also include the fact that it's other people that's doing stuff too. If you're gonna cover Joy Taylor, you got to cover the CEO that's out here just cheating casually on the Jumbotron. Come on, man. That's all I'm saying. I agree with a lot of your sentiments, but I call out things that, that don't really sit well with me, Anton. That's all I'm saying, brother. Now, before I get out of here, I want to talk about the Cenat and Aiden Ross drama, okay? What I found interesting about that was... So basically, to make it a long story short, we all know Cenat has a deal or had a deal with McDonald's, the whole McChicken thing. And so Cenat basically said that Aiden Ross's manager was making some racial remarks towards him when they were talking, I guess, off mic. And I seen a content creator call that out and say, well, if you had that much of an issue, why did you wait to get on live to call it out? I respect that he called it out whenever he did, because the little bit that I know about Aiden Ross, besides the fact that I know he's a streamer, I don't like when people want to pick and choose when you should have a conversation behind closed doors or when you should have it live. I know that kid's content, his following, his fan base, a lot of them say a lot of racial things. They, Cenat was claiming that, he walked into the, he got into the chat, not walked into the chat. He got into the chat, and when he got into the chat, there was a lot of racial emojis, watermelons and monkey emojis and stuff like that. And so Aiden Ross's response was, that's everybody's stream. Listen, check this out. I hate that. Anybody that disregards that and says, well, everybody does it. It's almost like when you're having a slavery conversation and then somebody comes in and says, well, everybody had slaves. And when you make it an everybody thing, when you make your plight and your problem, available for conversation, and then somebody comes into that conversation and says, well, that's everybody's issue or everybody went through it, it definitely diminishes the significance and how it affects you. And so I don't know. It's just too many people out here getting money, beefing. Maybe they need the content. Maybe, they have things going on. Maybe they're running low on conversation. But I really do hope that these content creators bring more substance. YouTube has changed a lot of rules and a lot of guidelines and stuff like that. But I just really hope there's a lot of substance being added to y'all content. Cenat, keep your head up, brother. I know Aiden Ross's friend. I don't even know what his name was. He was on the Breakfast Club, and they got some backlash and was told that they were hating and stuff like that. There's a whole lot of racial conversations, and people may want to blame Trump and say that the MAGAs and Trump, put batteries in backs. Nah, I think that racist people, prejudiced people, which y'all need to know the definitions of the two, by the way. I think those people have always been there. They've always had those thoughts and those feelings. And, people try to, quote unquote, turn a new leaf and stuff like that and say that they believe this or they believe that or they realize their mistakes. And I feel like people that do that, they're just trying to protect their brand. Racist people, they're going to be racist. Sexist people, they're going to be sexist. Colorism, people that, display that's really going to be who they are. A lot of times people don't make statements and have conversations until it affects their brand. That's just what it is. It's part of the game. People don't want their bag to be affected. If people knew that their bag wasn't going to be affected by how prejudiced, sexist, and racist they were, they would keep right on doing it. So, Cenat, keep your head up, dude. These people that are racist in these chats and online, pay attention. It's funny to me when somebody is racist online or when they're sexist, they say something derogatory, and the minute they lose their job, they go on viral crying about how they lost their job because of their behavior. You represent a brand. For those that have jobs, let me give you some advice. For you guys that have jobs, 9-to-5s, or involved with some kind of conglomerate, some kind of group, some kind of representation, be careful what you say online. Because if it goes viral that you said something sexist or racist or disrespectful, you can lose those opportunities. This isn't something new. We've seen athletes lose things over decades because of the wrong thing that they said or the wrong thing that they did, and you're not exempt just because you work at a job. So that's my take on that. I'm just calling it what it is. I'm finna go ahead and I think I'm finna get out of here, man. I appreciate you guys tuning in to the Notion Live. Appreciate you guys jumping in the chat. This is definitely something I want to do on a weekly basis. Y'all shoot me topics. A few of you guys do DM topics to me or to us on the Notion podcast, but email us and DM us topics on what you guys want us to cover. I'm finna go ahead. I'm finna get out of here. Thank you for tuning in to the Notion podcast live. I appreciate you. I love you. Until next time, stay sharp, stay bold, stay notioned. Peace.